Tatis, he's going to lead Sports Center. He's done it again. Another home run.
Welcome back to Chasing 2 Media. I'm Blake Friars alongside Dylan Smith. May is over. We're on our way into June in the baseball season. So that means we're going to do our May power rankings. After every month, me and Dylan break down the teams that are on the rise, teams that kind of had slumping in this month. But, there was a lot of maybe premature rankings in April. The first month of the season kind of solidified more spots as we got into May, but one of the hottest teams in baseball right now is the Tampa Bay Rays. We had them ranked 17th after the first month of the season. They go up to number 1. They get the biggest jump, go up 17 spots at 38-23. The Rays just they don't have the sexiest lineup, but I mean, man, they can pitch and they always find a way to get it done.
Yeah, and Rich Hill's been putting the team on his back, I should say. Pretty sure he won Pitcher of the Month for the AL. Is that correct?
He did. Yep.
Yeah. So I'm looking at the numbers right now. Tampa has the most road wins in the league. They're 23-10.
Yeah.
Obviously, they went on that big
13-game win streak.
Right. Yeah, most of those games were on the road, so that kind of aids that record.
Yep.
But I mean, can't take that away from them. In April, they were ranked 17th on our list, and obviously, to clarify, we said this in our last April rankings too. We're doing it month to month, so you'll see like the Kansas City Royals were like in the top 10, and now they're in the bottom 10.
Yep.
So it just gives you a little input on how we're doing it. We're just going month by month, and teams are going to fluctuate. But back to the Rays, they're back. They're back. This is the World Series team that was dominating all last year in that mini season, and this is the team that we weren't sure if we were going to see again without Snell.
I mean, when you look at the last 30 days, I know, 6 of those days are in June, but they scored the most runs in baseball, 153 runs. So, like, they're tearing the cover off the baseball. I'm pretty sure they're in the top 5 in hits in the last 30 days too. So, I mean, they're just a well-oiled machine right now. Another hot team we got to talk about is the Chicago Cubs. Them, like the Rays, jumped up 17 spots. Kind of a little harsh on them in April, ranked them 26, but man, they really proved us wrong in the month of May.
Well, yeah, and they got a little pick-me-up from Chris Bryant for a little while. The team's starting to come together. Also, another thing you got to take into consideration, it's not cold in Chicago anymore. In April, it's snowy, it's cold, it's windy, and the weather's starting to warm up, and you're going to see some of these teams that really struggle in April start to get hot during the summer, and some teams are going to make some late pushes. One team in particular I'm kind of curious to see how they do going forward is the Minnesota Twins. I mean, you could say the same for them. They played in crappy weather in April. Obviously, the weather wasn't too bad, but very slow start, not uncharacteristic, but there's lots of baseball left.
Right.
With that being said, it better happen now. It's got to happen this month for them to get back into it. If they
don't turn it around in June, their season might be over. It might be over already, to be honest. I mean,
yeah, it might be, and they have some very interesting pieces they could trade at the deadline. So I think this month's going to tell you a lot about where they're headed in the next 7 weeks. Obviously, we get the All-Star break coming up in July.
Yep.
So this is a big month for a lot of teams. And there's a lot of teams that are in the middle of the pack that I could see creeping towards the top.
Yeah, in the next 2-3 weeks, me and Dylan are going to get, dive into some, who's going to be buyers, who's going to be sellers, who's going to be on the trade market. That's always fun to do and kind of speculate predict where players could go and potential fits. But another team that dropped significantly is the Arizona Diamondbacks. We had them ranked 14th in our April rankings. and they are 20-41. They dropped 16 spots. They sit dead last in our rankings. This team, man, this team is just not a good ball club right now.
Yeah, I believe they lost 14 or 15 in a row.
Yeah.
So obviously we know about those losing streaks and winning streaks, but 14 or 15 in a row, that is. I can't believe that a Major League Baseball team lost that many games in a row. I mean, I can't remember in my lifetime a team doing that. So I know they've been a little banged. I know Zach Gallen, their ace, hasn't been pitching for them. Obviously, Mad Bum had his little spurt of showing and being himself, but then he got banged up, and he hasn't been good since then. So it comes down to the pitching, and their two top guys, on paper are not really providing anything right now.
So did you see the report where they're possibly opening to trading David Peralta?
Yeah, and I think it makes perfect sense. I mean, why not? Why not?
Yeah.
That team's gotta be creative. They don't really have like any valuable pieces. I mean, I hate to say that for Diamondbacks fans, but they traded Starling Marte last year in a weird deal.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, okay, well, we got to move. I don't know. I guess Ketel Marte's there. Nick Ahmed. It's like Cole Calhoun's been out the whole year. And he actually was a big pick me up for them last year.
Yeah, he
for
was
what they did do.
Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, this team's they're like, to me, it's time for a full rebuild.
So let me see what their batting average is the last 30 days here. Arizona.
It's probably not very good.
23rd in batting average, 232 the last 30 days. Their OPS is 666. Like they're just not getting it done
ERA in the last 30 days.
Team ERA, yeah, I can do that right now. Team ERA the last 30 days. ERA. Team ERA the last 30 days, 26, 5.17. You brought up the Twins. Their ERA is second to only the Baltimore Orioles at 5.33. So, I mean, you're giving up 5 earned runs a game. I mean, you're behind the 8 ball right away, and you're not going to win many games. But another team that let's see, on the rise or downfall, the Royals. We had them ranked 7th, like you said, in April. They obviously came back down to earth a little bit, 29-28. So still a game over 500, but they dropped 13 spots down to 19.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much to say about the Royals, in my opinion. Danny Duffy got hurt too, and that was probably their best trade chip.
Yep.
They're a young team though. I mean, Bobby Witt Jr. is going to come up at some point, and that's going to be a big star for them. And they haven't had that since those World Series teams with Hosmer and Moustakas and Alcides Escobar. Obviously, they still have Salvi, and Alex Gordon's gone.
Yep.
So, we're just waiting for that next generation of good Royals baseball. And unfortunately, they're or at least they were a low market team. I know they have a new owner now, so we'll see.
Yep.
If they can make some acquisitions via free agency in the future. Obviously, they're not going to do that right now because they're not in position to win. But yeah, they're still in 3rd place. They're 29-28. They're not below 500 yet.
They did go on that big losing streak. I think they lost like 11 in a row or something at one point in May. So that kind of put them right behind the 8 ball. Let's talk about the NL West, because this is turning into a really, really – this is probably the most exciting division in baseball right now. You got the Giants leading at 37-22. They went up 3 spots from 6 to 3. The Dodgers fell from 1 to 3, and the Padres dropped from 2 to 5. So, the Dodgers dropped from 1 to 4. Pardon me. What do you think of the Dodgers season so far? And more, actually, I want to ask you about the Giants. Like, is this team gonna make the playoffs? Like, I don't know, man. Like this. They're showing no signs of slowing down.
Yeah, I'm very surprised that the Giants are still in the top 10. Obviously, last month we're thinking, okay, Giants are gonna fall out.
Yep.
Royals gonna fall out.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was another team. I mean, let's see. I mean, look at the.
Like the. Are you talking April?
Yeah, I mean, who knew that the Brewers were going to be in the top 5? I mean,
Right.
they're still there, but anyways, my point being, it's complete surprise that the Giants are still in this thing.
Right.
A good surprise because it's good for the NL West because it adds a little bit of flavor in there. We
Mm-hmm.
were so focused on the Padres, Dodgers, and now
Yep.
we got the Giants to worry about.
Right.
So, it's gonna be very interesting. I mean, I think the Dodgers are still gonna come out on top.
Right.
I mean, I'd be very surprised if they didn't. But I mean, what's your take on this?
I'll ask you one more question before I get my take. Could you see 3 playoff teams come out of the NL West this year?
I don't believe so. No.
No?
I personally don't think the Giants are gonna be in it.
Okay.
But hey, like I've said this before on this podcast, trade deadline comes and all of a sudden there's a team that you didn't even expect. A couple years ago when the Brewers, had the Dodgers on the ropes in the CS.
Yeah.
They
Right.
made some acquisitions and they rode them. So.
The Giants are in a really hard spot because they got a lot of pending UFAs and they're playing above, they're exceeding expectations this year. I mean, this is supposed to be a development year for them. I mean, you got Posey, Crawford, Belt, Longoria's kind of winding down. Like a lot of guys that are performing above expectations. Like they're in a tough spot. I mean, if they falter a little bit, I think they're probably going to sell at the deadline and get some prospects, as much prospects as you can. But at the same time, it's like they're like what 37-22. I don't know, man. Like this team they're just a weird team right now.
Yeah, they're doing it without Yastrzemski. That's the way, like Yastrzemski really has not produced that much.
No.
But the reason why they're on top right now is because Alex Wood, Gosman, Cueto, they're all tossing the rock. They're taking care of business on the mound.
Yeah, they've had the 6th best ERA the last 30 days, 3.29. Like
yeah, and that's with getting rocked against the Dodgers in San Francisco. And the most impressive part of all this is that they came back from getting swept in their own city to going and taking, I believe, 3 or 4 in LA.
In LA, yep.
Yeah, so they came back with some fire under their asses and took care of business in LA, and that was Mike Tauchman going up and robbing Pujols of the game, game-winning homer.
Right.
There were some exciting games. It was good to see the Giants-Dodgers rivalry maybe be better than the Padres-Dodgers rivalry at this point.
The A's dropped 4 spots. They were originally ranked 3rd. They went on that massive, 13 game winning streak. And then you kind of told me like they've been in a really big tailspin as of late. Like you pay attention a little bit more than I do in the AL West. What are you seeing from the A's right now?
Well, they still have the rotation depth. I think they have the best rotation in the AL West at this point. So that's kind of keeping them above water. But realistically, they've pretty much been more of like a 500 team more than anything. I don't think that any West team is really tearing it up right now.
Yeah.
Obviously, Oakland's 35-26, but they also won 13 in a row at one point.
Yep.
And then they started off
1-9 or 1-8.
1-9.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, you just look at the numbers. It's 17-17 at home. They're 18-9 on the road. Which is in the top half of the league.
Yep.
But 17-17 at home, you'd expect.
Be
Oakland's usually pretty good at home. So, Matt Chapman, I think when the Angels were playing him, he was down batting 7th at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So, not the usual, producers are producing for them right now, but the pitching's
Lowry's
holding
off
up
a little bit too.
Yeah. This team needs some acquisitions.
Yeah.
I don't view this team as a World Series contender. I think in the past 3 years, there was kind of like that outside chance. They played really good during the regular season where you're like, hey, if they get hot in October, this would be a fun thing to watch. I'm not really getting that vibe from the A's this year.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think that any team in the AL West is that good.
Yeah.
I mean, Houston's only a game back,
Mm-hmm.
and to me, I don't think Houston's even that good.
No.
So,
yeah, I don't. Obviously, the Angels dropped 8 spots, but Mike Trout has been hurt most of May, so he's still out. So obviously, that's pretty self-explanatory why they sit in 21. We originally had them ranked 13th, but
they also had one of the hardest schedules in the month of May. And you asked me even before Trout got hurt, are they going to have a winning month? And I said no.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and if you look at their month this month, they just got done with the 4-game set with Seattle, which they split with. But they got Detroit, Kansas City. I think might have Colorado on there. It's a lot easier month than the last one. And for that team to come back, they're 5 games under 500 right now. They're going to need a sweep of somebody to just get close.
So do you think Trout's out to the All-Star break?
Yeah, till the All-Star break.
Yeah, so.
And Rendon's starting to get hot, so we'll see. Pitching's got to hold up, of course, which it's hit or miss so far this season. But we saw them do the same thing last year. You know, this is, you know, they had a very slow start, and then they were the best team in baseball the second month of the season.
Mm-hmm. A team that,
so we'll
go ahead. You done?
No, I was gonna say we'll see. I mean, not very optimistic, but you know, they're hanging in there for now. They're not out of it. Mm-hmm. And that's another team that we'll be watching at the deadline because they have more trade pieces than anybody else in the league.
Right. The Braves, we had them ranked 23rd. They had an awful first month of the season. They jump up 8 spots, number 15, clawing back that 500. I think 3.5 back of the Mets in their division. So kind of had a little bit of a resurgence month. Freddie Freeman had a good month of May, and obviously a huge loss for them is Marcell Ozuna's situation. He's under investigation right now. That's just not a good spot for the Braves to be in. They owe him a lot of guaranteed money that they unfortunately can't get out of. It's just a really, really messy situation on the Braves' part.
Yeah, and he broke his fingers before that, so he was going to be out 6 weeks.
Yeah.
But now he's going to be out who knows how many years, unless somehow, you know, charges are dropped or the tricky part with this, if you guys aren't familiar, I'm sure you've heard of it by now. You know, we took a week off.
Right.
He basically got caught strangling his wife by the cops. You know, it's not just a call in.
Like a witness, yeah. Like
the cops witness walked in on him strangling his wife.
And then Georgia, that's a 20-year sentence, maximum
3 to 20 years.
3 to 20 years, yeah. Like
he got bailed out for about $20K, I think I saw.
Yep.
So he's out right now.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, on a business side of things, if you're asking yourself, why haven't the Braves let this guy go yet?
Yeah.
Okay. It's a crappy situation to be in, but here's the reality of things.
Yeah.
Okay. They owe him $64 million.
Mm-hmm.
Is it gonna be a bad look to bring him back after strangling his wife? Probably. Okay. How often? I mean, different situations, but Aroldis Chapman is still in the league.
Yep.
Roberto Ozuna was back in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Jose Reyes was in the league. You know, domestic violence, there's suspensions for it, but it's not like you can't come back from it in Major League Baseball.
Right.
It's a very forgiving sport sometimes. And unfortunately, in this sport specifically, I feel like once a year or two passes, people forget. But, you know, I don't know. It's a hard, from a business standpoint, you're hoping he gets no jail time. He takes a suspension. It's probably going to be 100+ games.
Yep.
Okay, and you get him back for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
If you're the Braves, you know, from business standpoint, you owe this guy a lot of money. There's no way out of it. If you release him now and he goes and produces in 2 years for another team, and you're paying him,
you're like paying him to beat you.
Yeah, exactly. you have to take out the human aspect, which I think, sucks.
Yeah.
But, just put your business cap on and say, what's going to help us? We paid this guy for 4 years. We got to look at a 4-year plan with this guy.
Yeah.
And if he gets no jail time, we're looking at he's probably back 2024 season, 2023 season. And we go from there. We'll see. Obviously, if he goes to jail, the Braves are going to, no hesitation, they're going to drop him. But right now, you can't really.
Yeah, it's just like you said, it's just a crappy situation. I mean, if he goes to jail for, say, 4 years, his whole contract, like that's money that's $20 million that they can't use to get better. And they're basically paying him.
This is going to hurt the Braves really bad.
It is. It's going to kill the Braves. It's going to hurt them really bad.
Because you have Acuna and Albies are on pretty team-friendly contracts.
Yep. You got to pay Freddie Freeman after this year.
Freeman is a free agent. Okay. They need pitching. They have good young pitchers. They have Soroka. They have Fried. They have Ian Anderson. But you need that Kershaw, Scherzer.
Yeah.
That's going to be a free agent this year. Maybe even a Stroman. You need one more. And you're paying Ozuna $20 million, $18 million that could have gone to a pitcher.
Yep.
Can elevate your team. On top of that, now you have to find an outfielder. That I know they have Christian Pache, but if the universal DH comes, which I'm sure they were anticipating, because Marcell Ozuna is not a good fielder, now they have to replace that DH spot too. So a lot of things to unravel here, a lot of things to go through. Short story, or make a long story short, I should say.
Yeah.
I wouldn't expect the Braves to be releasing him until we find out.
Until there's like a sentencing.
Yeah. I mean, Felipe Vasquez for the Pirates, he's still getting paid, and he's a child molester. So, baseball's guaranteed contracts. Yeah. I think there should be some type of clause in these contracts going forward.
Or PEDs, just like, Yeah.
I believe they don't have to pay the contracts when they have PEDs, though. Oh. I think that's in there.
Okay.
Because it's a PED suspension.
And then
so they don't get paid for their suspended games. Yeah.
Right. All right. Is there any other teams that we missed here that had good months?
I mean, the Mets moved. The Mets were moving in a positive direction. Obviously, Jacob deGrom, I should say. Yep. He's back, and he's shoving. I mean, nothing's changed. I think we should get into the foreign substances, but we're going to do that probably on our weekly pod. I don't think this is the...
Yeah, we'll talk about that. We're going to do a pod we're going to record on Thursday, release on Friday. We're going to talk about that, and then some...
That'll be item number 1 on Friday.
Big-time pitchers that had significant spin rate drops. We're going to dive into that more, but you want to talk about like players of the months or anything? Like who do you think besides the Rays, what team had the best month, do you think?
I'm sticking with the Giants. I think the Giants, I mean, obviously the White Sox. The White Sox have been hot.
Yep.
I'll say this time and time again. Look at the divisions they're in.
Yeah.
Okay. The divisions they're in. The White Sox have to beat up on Cleveland, Kansas City, Detroit, Minnesota.
Yep.
Okay. You look at the East. You got Tampa, Boston, Toronto, New York. Probably four of the top 8 teams in the American League.
Yep.
Okay. So always remember that. I try to tell people that, like, oh, my team is so hot right now. Okay. Look at the crap division they play in.
That's a shot at me there, folks.
Look at the crap division they're in, or look at what division they're in. Look who they've been playing. Okay. And then reevaluate. Okay, when it comes to October, are we really going to be a World Series contender? That's what matters. I mean, at the end of the day, you got to pair yourself next to the other top teams. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the White Sox, I'm sure they're a very talented bunch. I'm not taking anything away from them, but I'm sure they're looking around across the league at the top teams in the American League. Who do we feel comfortable playing? Who do we not? Where do we need to improve at the deadline? That's what good teams do.
The White Sox is, I mean, they're without Eloy Jimenez and they're without Luis Robert. Like, two really big bats in that lineup. Obviously, you remember Mercedes has stepped up for that team and filled that void in that DH spot, but like they're without two potent bats in the lineup, and they're still producing. Obviously, they're getting good starting pitch from Lance Lynn, Keuchel, and Giolito, and Liam Hendricks just won AL reliever of the month. So they're pitching well. They're hitting the crap out of the baseball. Yeah, we did you predict them to go to the World Series this year, or was that last year?
It's this year.
Okay.
I had White Sox Braves.
White Sox Braves, right?
Not looking good on the National League side.
Yeah. Hey, who knows, man? I still got 4 months to go here, so it's marathon.
I mean,
marathon, not a sprint for sure.
Yeah.
AL Player of the Month, Marcus Semien. NL Player of the Month was Fernando Tatis Jr. Both players had great months. I think Semien batted over 368, really kind of solidifying the top four in the Blue Jays lineup. With obviously Guerrero, he's on pace for 52 homers this year. Would be the most of anybody younger than 22 years old. So what he's doing is incredible. But Semien is kind of setting the tone for that lineup for sure.
Yeah, and Vlad, he's the lead for AL MVP.
Yeah.
Semien solidifying that top four spot. Springer's coming back. So the Jays are looking good offensively on paper.
Yeah.
Fortunately for you, they haven't really been winning many games lately. I mean, they've kind of just been like a 500 bunch, and that's because the pitching's starting to fall apart, which was a main, I guess, concern at the beginning of the year. So, do you think this team is going to add that big arm, or do you think it's going to be another build year?
Well, Mark Shapiro, the president of the club, said they're going to be forced to make some uncharacteristic trades here coming up in the future because at the end of the day, you can only stockpile prospects for so long. Eventually, I mean, you got to trade prospects to get big league talent and help your ball club. But, I mean, like you said, the Blue Jays, 13-12 the last 30 days, 4.28 ERA. Their bullpen, who was really good in April, was really bad in May. So I don't know. I think they will go out. I want them to go out and get like a Luis Castillo controllable arm for like 2-3 years. I think that'd be pretty smart. Maybe go out and get maybe swing for the fences and go bring in Max Scherzer or something. And hope that he re-signs the next season. I'm not sure. This team offensively can slug with the best of them. I mean, I think they had the best OPS, the most runs scored. I think they're top 5 in homers. Like they're scoring a lot of runs, but like you said, they're giving up a lot of runs and it's costing them a lot of games. But moving on to Tatis, though, this guy is electric, right? He
Yeah.
I mean, the bat flips, you name it. He's just got a lot of swagger. Some people call him the face of baseball nowadays. But since his injury, man, he's been just electrifying to watch.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, I think he's the face of baseball. I mean, he might not be the best player as far as stats wise. I know he just won player of the month, but he's fun to watch. He gives up his body for his team. He dominates in the box, and he's young. He's going to be probably, hopefully, this game needs another Ken Griffey type player.
Yep.
It went Ken Griffey. Then I feel like my generation as a kid was Jeter.
Yep.
This next generation might be Tatis. This might, it might be Tatis.
Tatis or Trout.
Well, I would say that Trout was probably
Trout
the last 10 years.
2010? Isn't it hard to believe that Trout's been in the league for almost 12 years?
Yeah.
Is that hard to believe? Like, for me, it's like, wow, this guy's been in the league for a long time.
Yeah, and like I said, I think Trout was the 2010s to 2020s.
Right.
But I think this next, 2020 to 2030 will be Tatis's generation.
Yeah.
I mean,
He's
I coach,
Soto,
I coach and work with young kids, like teenagers. They want to look like Tatis right now. Like they got like the flashy glasses, they want to be Tatis. So, I think when I was growing up, everybody wanted to be Trout. Everybody wanted to be Jeter. mimic those guys.
Mhm.
And now the whole, the game's changed motto. It's Tatis. It's flashy. It's fiery, and I think it's good for the game to an extent. We gotta reel her in sometimes, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I'm kind of a old school guy, but also a new school guy at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, I'm okay with some things, not okay with others.
Mhm.
But on the field, he's been great. I don't know if the Padres are World Series bound this year. I'm getting the vibe no, but like the roster's good enough.
Well, okay. Let's talk about this. I was gonna save this for next week, but there was a report today on LB Trade Rumors that they're interested in trading for Joey Gallo.
Yeah.
What do you think that would do for that offense, and what do you think it would maybe cost to bring a guy like Gallo in?
I mean, Gallo really hasn't done much this year. I think he only has 8 bombs. And he's a swing for the fences type guy. I think that he's better suited for a AL East, ballpark, whether that be Boston or New York,
No, do not trade that man to New York. You'll hit 50 homers.
Or even maybe Philadelphia. Something like a smaller ballpark. Put him in a small ballpark where you can just hit the ball in the air and let the ball fly.
Joey Gallo, 10 homers, 26 RBI, batting 207, OPS 754. So not having the best of seasons, but I mean,
the Padres have a big ballpark.
You put him in the middle of Tatis and Hosmer and Machado. I mean, that middle of that line, that's death's row in the middle of that lineup.
Well, I could see Houston making a play for him as well.
Really? An AL West rival, huh?
I mean, what does Texas have to lose?
Yeah.
And plus, Houston's got prospects left over. I mean, you already have Jordan to be the DH in the future. Move Brantley to left, put Gallo in right. Gallo gets the Crawford boxes. Gallo gets that right field short porch. To me, it makes a ton of sense.
He's got 2 years. Like after this year, he's got 2 more years left. So he's 27 right now. He's getting paid $6.2 million. So it's not that much like salary of a contract to bring in for the Padres. I mean, they have raised their payroll considerably the last this past offseason, but that was
maybe that's the Braves attempt. Maybe that's the Braves attempt to replace
Ozuna. Yeah, I mean, you do make a good point there.
There's some risk and reward in Gallo. I mean, his walks were way up in April.
Yeah.
Those started to go down in May.
Yeah.
He hasn't got hot yet, but I'm expecting him to catch some fire here. He had a good year last year. He's made some strides over the past couple of years. So I don't think he's going to be in this 206 slump for that long. I think he'll get it back up to around 235, 240. And we're going to see him start crushing bombs. And don't be surprised if he even wins the AL Player of the Month.
Ooh, a bold take there from Dylan Smith to end the podcast. That will do it for this May Power Rankings episode. We're going to be back with episode 30, recording on Thursday. We'll be out on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and Spotify on Friday. So I appreciate you guys for listening, and don't forget to subscribe.
Yeah, take care, guys.